What's up, real estate team builders? Lars Hedenborg here, founder of Real Estate B School. And man, if you missed the last podcast, so if you're listening to this one, you did not listen to my time with Khleif, you definitely want to go back. This guy brought the fire. I mean, he is a super successful, lost everything and came back and built up an empire again. Really humble dude. And there were three things that he talked about that I want to give my own perspective on as it relates to building a real estate team and building a business that gives you freedom. Our business oftentimes doesn't lead us to a point where we have a better life because of our real estate business. Traditional success in our industry leads us to the point where we're just grinding out of bounds all the time, evenings and weekends. And if you're, blessed enough to have a bunch of business going on, it's even worse, right? So you're either desperate to get business and stressed, or you have a ton of business and you're losing your mind. And this goes for every level, for agents selling 20 to 25 homes a year to agents selling, 250 to 300. I've worked with guys that were, not making any money selling 600 homes a year, so this dynamic doesn't change. To set up a business the right way where it ultimately serves you rather than enslaves you. That is the passion. That's my mission. That's why I exist at this point. So three things I want to cover on this podcast episode. Number one is the mindset required to be able to grow and scale a business that ultimately serves you. Number two is goal setting and how that fits in. We all know what it is, but are you actually doing it in a meaningful way where it actually impacts and drives your behaviors in the future? And then we're going to talk about your peer group. Number three, your peer group. So let's start with mindset and psychology. Rod spent some time with Tony Robbins, and I did as well. And there are many takeaways from learning from Tony Robbins back in my early days of business building. This is like 2009, 10, and 11, the years I just started my real estate team was 2009, hired my first agent late in that year. We did 58 transactions. I did 55. My first agent, Chris, did like 3 or 4 deals. He went on the next year to do 27 transactions. That year, 2010, we did 118 as a team, then 178. And then the year 2012, we did 248. I did one of those transactions. So 2008 solo agent, first full year, 44 transactions, losing my mind, all sorts of out of bounds, to 2012. I guess that's 4 years later, 248 transactions where I sold one home. 2 years later, we sold over 400 homes. I worked like 40 days. So the reason I was able to do that first and foremost was that I had the right psychology around it, the right mindset, where Tony taught me. Tony Robbins, I call him Tony like he's my buddy. He's not my buddy, but it sounds better when I say Tony taught me 80% of your success in business and any area of business or life comes down to your psychology, your mindset, your beliefs around what's possible, not the strategy, tactics, or mechanics of doing it. The easiest way to drive home this point is, let's say you're listening or watching and your physical body isn't where you want it to be. Is it because there's any shortage of, tactics or strategies out there? There's not, right? I mean, eat well. So eat lean protein and lots of veggies all the time. Work out 4 to 5 times a week for 40 to 45 minutes, a couple strength sessions and, 2 or 3 cardio sessions, 40 to 45 minutes. Doesn't matter where you are in your health journey. You do that for 12, 18, 24 months, you will be the most healthy and fit person you know. So the strategy is simple. It couldn't be more simple. But why, as a country, we're all like obese and overweight and, out of shape, and we don't have the energy to make it through the day and really do the things we want to outside of, our business life. It's because our psychology is off. It's because we rationalize, and I've done this many, many times before. We rationalize that, I want to reward myself with this meal, or I'm stressed, so I want to eat this meal. I'm too busy to prepare my food, whatever we tell ourselves. So that's the example. In business, it's not like we don't know what to do to get busy enough to be able to afford an administrator to be able to hire a showing agent so we don't have to work evenings and weekends, right? It's not like we don't know what to do. It's that we lack the mindset and we don't have this clear vision of what's possible. So the mindset that I had going into real estate, and send me an email at lars@realestatebschool.com. Trying to think if there's a better place I can send you. Now, just hit me up on Facebook Messenger or send me an email where I specifically sort of laid out what I thought 3 and 5 years could look like. So I'll get to goal setting in a second, but part of that first plan I put together was a wake up thought and like exactly why I was doing what I was doing. And I would read that multiple times a day. I had this first 2010 business plan that I wrote in 2009, had it laminated like 20 times, small and big copies, in the shower, in my car, everywhere you could imagine, where I did my work, where I made my calls. And it reinforced the mindset that I was going to grow this business, and I was doing that so that it would provide a life for my family that we never thought was possible. That was the bottom line, right? So my mindset was so clear on why I was doing it. I didn't care what I had to do to get there. I knew that it was possible because I'd seen others do it. I was going to do it in a slightly different way where I had more freedom as the business grew, not less freedom like some of these teams and agents that you see out there that sell a lot of real estate. So that's number one, is mindset, right? Super, super important. Number two is goal setting. Easy to say and actually pretty easy to do, but are you doing your goal setting in a way where it becomes part of like this living and breathing cadence of your business and your life? And Rod took us through a wonderful way to go through that process. My challenge for you though, and this is part of that 2010 plan, that really critical pinnacle plan that launched me into this trajectory of personal and business growth. The critical piece of it was I really saw clearly where I was going to be in 2012 and 2014 and 2020. And it was 2009 when I wrote it, before I hired my first agent, and I was still grinding, right? I was like 50 transactions in that year at that point. All I had was an administrator, and I really had never built a business before, never managed anybody before. It was this goal setting process, and I didn't do it just in my business. I did it in multiple areas of my life. I did it in my finances. I did it in my business. I did it with my physical body. I did it with my relationships with my bride, as a dad, and even like my emotional well-being in terms of enjoying the ride. And I think that process was the most powerful. I had a purpose behind it. I even still follow a life planning process. I have 12 categories now, so I've since overly complicated it. But I still am clear on the purpose behind why I want to drive results in a certain area, right? To get your mindset right and to be honest with yourself about where you're at right now and what's possible in the future. So that's number two, is goal setting, right? Are you doing it? And are you actually like reviewing your goals on a regular basis to drive those behaviors, drive doing the things that you might not want to do, but it's the goal that has you go through the uncomfortable things that you might need to do, or the things you're not good at, to do them long enough where you're good at them, where you can see the results and you're happy with those results, and it's a good trade-off of your time. Number three, and this is most important, it is your peer group. And Rod said it this way. He said, you know, I want to hang around with people where the things I think are hard, they think are easy. And he talked about like when he went through and lost $50 million in the 2008-2009 collapse, mostly because he was overly invested in single family. His multifamily, which is what he teaches now, did great then, but he lost $50 million on the residential side. And he was in a peer group that told him like, yeah, okay, so, you know, that's happened to me before too, but, you know, you get back up and do it differently. And this is how you do it. And he was like blown away. And when I look back on my journey and the peer groups I've surrounded myself with, most of it has been outside of real estate. I've spent over $1 million on personal development, business coaching, real estate coaching, wealth coaching, tax planning coaching, like anything, life coaching, anything you can imagine. I've spent money on. Most of it was really, really good and kind of moved me forward in my journey. And there's some of it that I was like, man, like 2 weeks into a 1-year commitment, I was like, oh, this is hard. I don't know how I'm going to keep paying for this, because I learned everything you guys teach in 2 weeks. Yet it was all really good because it introduced me to people that, they're providing their life's work to you in a coaching program or a mastermind group, and I continue to be introduced into these groups where, man, I'm meeting guys that are like, they're like family men, but they have this massive influence online. And I've never really cracked that code. And now I'm seeing like, I've had this limiting belief around like, okay, to be a social media influencer, you need to be like completely cheesy and like, here's my Lamborghini and, look at my private jet. And a lot of those things are just leased for the photo shoot. At least that's my limiting belief. There I go again. But I've met some guys lately here that are doing social media at a high level, really serving their communities and driving that into their business. And I'm like, man, once again, I think I have things figured out, and I just get into a different peer group, and all of a sudden it's like, man, the things I think are hard, these guys think are easy, right? To have 1.3 million, just had a conversation today with a guy that has 1.3 million TikTok followers, and he's a Midwest guy that has figured out how to do real estate investing in a, repeatable system. And he just shares what he's doing on a daily basis. And he's just, having massive influence and just changing lives of people that come into his world. And I'm like, crap it, if I didn't dismiss TikTok and think it was a complete waste of time, right? And so just completely entering into environments that make me uncomfortable. I've done it since like my first month in real estate. I got into a coaching program where my coaches were selling 75 to 100 homes a year. And, they had an administrator and, and then I mastered that. And then I got into a group where, the guy that led the group was selling 400 homes a year. And I'm like, man, I could do that. And then I mastered that group and got to the top of that group. And then I entered into a group where, guy was coaching teams that were doing 800 or 1,000 transactions. It's like, gosh. And then I got into, Tony Robbins and like all these different worlds. And I just completely and consistently put myself in situations where I'm around people that are playing the game of business in the game of life in a balanced way, but at a pretty high level. And so ask yourself the question, going through the mindset, goal setting, and peer group, do you have the proper mindset to know that where you are today doesn't dictate where you're going to be in the future? And the only thing holding you back is mindset. It's not the way to get there and the steps to get there or the strategy or the tactics. Goal setting. Are you doing it? Are you living and breathing and digesting and consuming and reading and spending time with your goals on a daily basis? Yes or no? 3, are you surrounding yourself with a peer group of guys and girls that are playing the game of business and the game of life at a higher level than you are? And if you're not surrounding yourself with the proper peer group, you're not doing goal setting at a high level, and your mindset is the thing holding you back, and you're constantly making excuses about where you are today and what's possible in the future, then you've got to change something, right? So all I can really offer you is a conversation about your business, about how I can actually partner with you directly to grow and scale your real estate business, but to do it in a way specifically that gives you more freedom in the future. Just go to partnerwithrebs.com. partnerwithrebs.com. And the platform I'm building my future business on and the impact I'm going to have in the real estate industry, it's Real Estate B School. It's on the platform EXP. So whatever you think about EXP, you've got to let down your guard on the platform and just understand that it is the fastest growing real estate company of all time by a factor of 2, because it solves problems that have existed in the traditional models. So no matter what you think about EXP, that's just the platform that I've chosen to build this next iteration of Real Estate B School, and how I can partner directly with you to help you grow and scale your business and do it in a way where you're going to have a ton of wealth, not just monetary, but time freedom as a result of us partnering together. So go to partnerwithrebs.com. Check out I think it's Find the Truth or Learn the Truth. and you can book directly into my calendar. We could just have a conversation about your business. There's not a hardcore sell into the platform, but I promise you, if you're open to it, I can show you a different path forward in your business growth journey. So much love, much respect. We'll talk to you guys soon. Be good.